would you ever even want to start a startup?
So I didn't even know what a startup was back when I was in college. In freshman year, there was a Citibank investment banker that came to present to us, and he was describing his life. I remember I dressed up in a suit with a bunch of other freshman nerds. It was like 250 of us. We went to this crowded classroom to hear this guy talk because we thought like this investment banker was so important. And he was describing his life, and at the end of the meeting, I realized I don't want to be an investment banker because it seemed just kind of boring. He basically says he just looks at financial models all day, and then he works like 10 hours a day, then he comes home, and then he wakes up in the morning and does it again. So I didn't know what a startup was. I didn't know what building something from the ground up was. I was interested in like the corporate world freshman and sophomore year. And then by junior year of college, I really started thinking, well, what do I want to do with my life? And that's when the question, or at least the introduction of this concept of, hey, what if you build something that not only you own with like equity and stuff, like forget that, but like that you've actually put the blood, sweat, and tears into making, and people acknowledge that thing associated with you. So this is when you go down the rabbit hole, I think, when you're trying to build a startup, or at least thinking of the concept of a startup, of like Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos and all these guys, Steve Jobs, obviously, Elon Musk, these people that had these visionary ideas. Let's send a rocket, to Mars. Let's make cars electric. Let's connect the entire world together in one place. Let's build a device that has, massive levels of information at the palm of your hands. And they executed that idea into a product that's real. And to me, that's what a startup is. A startup is taking an idea, whether it's the next Facebook or whether it's a $100,000 per year business, and you are trying to figure out how that idea can start manifesting itself in the world enough to generate attention that leads to then some level of revenue and hopefully profits based upon that idea. So the question becomes, once you understand that, why would you want to build it? And I think you decide to build a startup if you have an idea in your head that you know you can't sleep or can't live unless you try to get that idea out into the world. I think that's the only reason people should start a startup. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not for people that aren't ready to do many, many tests and reiterate on the things that are not working, because 99% of things you try will not work. I think a startup is for someone who can't sleep at night without thinking of their idea becoming real. And it's so funny because now I'm in the world of a startup and it's very difficult and it's hard. But I remember October 2020, I couldn't sleep because I had that idea in my head.
How did you get that idea initially?
How did I get the idea? So the initial idea came from deeply caring about content and my ideas getting discovered. So like the startup that I'm building is an audio content discovery platform at its core. You could call it a YouTube of audio. We're trying to get everyone to upload their audio in one place and then trying to make it more discoverable for the masses. And I felt in 2018 that I had a lot of pieces of content in my head that were rooted in audio that weren't podcasts, that weren't videos. And I was like, where's the home for these pieces? It's not on Instagram, it's not on Facebook. Like, where does this content live? And 2 years later, by 2020, I couldn't get that idea out of my head. I'm like, I feel like these things in my head are meaningful to talk about. They're meaningful to say. They don't fit the established brands that exist currently. So there needs to be a new category for them. And when I had the light bulb moment of like, this could be a category defining company, meaning the company could build a category in and of itself and have a monopoly over that category, that's when the business side of me started thinking, could that be a business? Could that be a thing in and of itself? Could that be something that other people use? Could that be something that a lot of other people feel, like I feel, that their content is not meant to be in this box or that box? So here's a new box, and that new box actually encompasses everything that their ideas could encapsulate. And that was when I decided that I couldn't sleep at night, because it's like, regardless if this fails or if this wins, if you can't sleep at night, then you have to go try, because the regret of not trying will absolutely like destroy you. And you don't know how difficult it's going to be when you start. You don't know how difficult it's going to be to get co-founders, to get funding, to get people to even listen to you and hear your pitch. I remember I was pitching it to, October 2020, I was literally calling up every friend I had in college, even if I barely knew them, right? They were like a distant person, friend of a friend. I was like, hey, can I get 20 minutes with you? I want you to listen to the pitch. And you get some affirmations, you get some constructive feedback, you get this, you get that. But all in all, if you're determined to think this idea has a chance to like be in the world, you're going to start. regardless of what anyone says. At that point, it's just old confirmation bias for your ideas.
What were you thinking in those sleepless nights?
In those sleepless nights?
Yeah.
Well, those sleepless nights are actually pure bliss. You know, they say ignorance is bliss. When you want to start something new, you're ignorant to all of the issues that are going to come up with starting something new. Like purely ignorant. I mean, you're ignorant to how much money it's going to cost, how much time, how much energy, how much emotional stress, physical stress, how much you're going to have to be away from your family, how much mentally you're going to be with your family, but not really with your family because you're constantly thinking of other things. So I was in this ignorance is bliss stage where I'm not thinking of any of the hardships. Like even at that stage, I was thinking about this could be $1 billion company. And $1 billion is not because I cared about the money. It's just because if you build something that's worth $1 billion, it's pretty big. Like in those early days, I was like, this can be really big. Because the argument to me was very simple. If we build it and we get enough people to use it, it goes massive. It's just that simple. And so when you're sleeping at night, and again, you are ignorant to all of the hardships that it takes to get there. In fact, you recognize them, but you're like, we'll solve those things. Those aren't that hard. You know, you'll figure it out. That's when you only see the optimism. And the reason it keeps you sleepless at night is because you are so optimistic that it can happen that you're literally just like, I need to do everything I can right now to get it out into the world. And there are some moments where you debate with yourself about how it won't work and the issues and all that stuff, but those are like minor concerns to the overarching vision that you have. Like I'm sure when Steve Jobs thought about building the iPhone, there were issues. How do you build the screen? How do you fit everything in there? How do you build the software for it to make sense? Just touchscreen, like how does the business sense work? Is there even enough 3G capabilities for people to use it in a meaningful way? But he knew that this was a thing that probably could work. And some things don't work. Amazon tried to make a phone, Fire Phone, it failed, right? Microsoft, their phone kind of failed. So things fail, but in the moment when you have sleepless nights, you feel like it can work and you feel like it can win. So that would be my argument to start a startup. The only reason you start a startup is because you can't sleep at night without trying to get the idea out into the world. It's not about the money. It's not about the fame. It's not about celebrity. It's not even about impacting people's lives. It's actually the most selfish thing you can do.
So you just saw a problem and you're like, I can solve this.
I saw a problem.
What I do, it's $1 billion company.
Yeah, I saw a problem that I personally had experienced deeply. Like there's a lot of problems I have in life, but if it doesn't affect me, I'm not going to go on some major journey to build something around it. I saw a problem that I was affected by, that I felt I had a better solution to be able to solve. I had a vision of what that solution would look like. And then I was like, wait a second. So I know the problem, I know the solution. I just need the infrastructure to get it out into the world, which is like a team, the programming, marketing, all that stuff. So all those things felt secondary to the core thing you need, which is, do you have the passion and excitement around an idea to end up making it big? And a caveat here is I also always thought of myself as an entrepreneur. Like I started a lot of things in college, some of them worked, some of them didn't, but I always thought of myself as like the guy. And so when you have this persona of yourself as the guy, and then you have this idea that 2 + 2 = 4, it makes so much sense, and you're not BSing yourself, it makes sense, then you put those two together, and it's like, all right, it's go time. It's time to go try to build it. Plus the fact that you can't sleep at night. And so all of that together, I believe, makes me feel that the reason to start a startup is because if you can't sleep at night, it's better to get some sleep. So start the startup.